What's up, everybody? Corey Hughes, Bloody History. We're back. It's my birthday today, bitches. That's right. I'm 26 years old today. For the first time, I promise. So if anybody wants to make a donation through buymeacoffee.com/JFKbook or buy some notes or buy a book or some shit, that'd be much appreciated. So, but I'm stoked about this interview with Lawrence Howard. I'm convinced this is the first time this has been seen in like 50 years, considering it was fucking buried in the Weisberg Treasury Department -CIA fucking folder. I don't know what the fuck that means. And how come this fucking interview isn't in Jim Garrison's own fucking records? Jim Garrison, who did the interview, he should have it in his own fucking records, right? Not there. No. There isn't even a folder for Lawrence Howard. You know why? Because we only have, by my estimation, somewhere between 10 and 20% of Garrison's files. I'd say something like 80% of Garrison's files are gone. Most likely destroyed by fucking Harry Connick Sr. Cocksucker. And your son makes shitty music. Fuck you. Alright, so we're going to pick up right here. Page 24 of the document. And what were we talking about? He's going through a list of names and photographs and stuff and asking him if he knows all these people. And of course he knows people who are directly connected to Sturgis and all these fucking guys, right? So, like Pedro Diaz-Lanz and his brother. So, alright, continuing on. Okay, oh yeah, do you know Manuel Porras? Manuel who? Porras Rivera. I don't think so. He's from Costa Rica. I don't think so. One man that keeps popping up in the case who's very interesting is a rather short, stocky Latin with a very distinctive scar in his left eyebrow. Does that fit the description of anybody you know? All right, let me comment on this real quick. The only reason he thinks that he's fucking short here, and he's not short, it's Lawrence Howard he's asking about, that he's asking to, right? So this person he's describing with the scar over the left eyebrow is clearly Lawrence Howard, okay? He's not short. The reason he's saying he's short is because he's referencing in his memory the descriptions given by Oscar Deslat at the Bolton Ford dealership, right, from 61, January of 61. And he described him as short and stocky. But the problem is that Deslat, when you go through his fucking testimony and his statements, you realize that he never saw the man standing. He only saw him sitting down. And compared to the height of the man he was with, who I'm at this point now convinced was Kerry Thornley, that's why he would refer to him as short, right? So, but no, he's not short. Definitely not short. And the only fucking person who's stocky, husky Latino, with a pockmarked face. When you go through Deslat's description, it's clear it's Lawrence Howard because of the pockmarked face. But to me, it's hilarious because these guys have to know that the man they're looking for is the man they're talking to. If not, they're the dumbest people ever. Well, I can't say that really because they didn't have the internet and the luxury of hindsight, right? So I looked at Garrison's files so many times and they're organized in such a way that tells me he knew so much more than we've ever heard him say. He never came out and said that Kerry Thornley shot J.D. Tippit, ever. But when you read his fucking Kerry Thornley file, it's goddamn obvious that he thought so. Right? So very frustrating, man. I goddamn wish I had a time machine. And Lawrence Howard asks, you don't have a picture? He goes, I don't have a picture of this man, but we're interested because he shows up continually. He's, and then something is fucking redacted, by a 1-inch scar on the left eyebrow. He goes, right offhand, I don't recall anybody. A heavy-set, strong sort of fellow. Nope, right offhand, I can't think of anybody. Have you ever discussed the allegation, the Sylvia Odio allegation with Hall? No, I haven't seen him. Never discussed it? Never. How do you think he knew where her apartment was, what her apartment number was and everything? I don't know. Because he told the FBI, he gave them some quite accurate information about her apartment. I don't know. I've tried retracing our steps, as closely as I could. I know we've seen some American women and, we went to see somebody else, but they weren't home. I don't remember. Do you remember which American women you went to see? I don't. I've tried to picture the names. The only thing outstanding that comes to mind, one of them, I think it was, I didn't meet her, but the two women, one of the girlfriends was somebody Jerry Patrick knew or had gone out with or something like that. I'm not certain. As you can tell, hopefully you can tell by the inconsistencies in the patterns of his speech that he's just bullshitting. He's grasping. He doesn't understand what to tell him without implicating himself, because he knows he went to Sylvia Odio's. Okay? He knows it. He fucking knows it. And then there's another question. It says, I think that in one of his latest statements, one of a number of changed statements, one of his latest statements, that didn't Hall then say that it was not Seymour but Warito? He went with Lawrence Howard and Warito. Is that possible? Well, I don't remember. Aside from, did you ever see a lady with Hall and Warito? No, just the American ladies that Warito and I, the three of us, did. Okay, I gotta clarify this. There's no fucking Warito, okay? There is no Warito. The only three people who were fucking slumming it around in Dallas and all these places was Hall, Howard, and Seymour, with the occasional visit by Jerry Hemming, who doesn't see them again after, I don't even remember when. I can put him in Dallas in March of 1963, but I don't recall if he went to Dallas again after that, or if they went and saw him in Miami. They might have done that. Yes, they did see him in Miami, or at least Lawrence Howard did, as we discussed yesterday, now that I recall. But there's no fucking Warito, okay? Just keep that in mind. Yeah, strictly, I mean, no doubt of any kind. With the American women, who were there? You? One of them had a young daughter, a teenage daughter. The other one. Was Bill there too? No, Bill wasn't with us at all. What did the woman who had the teenage daughter look like? I don't remember. I don't. She talked English, and there was no Latin involved. Oh, no, there's no doubt. I mean, I could be mistaken, but as far as I'm concerned, there was no doubt whatsoever. Is it possible that one of those evenings Hall could have gone with somebody else, for example? Were there any other Latins that he was with occasionally that he may have gone one evening and with another heavy-set Latin? Mr. Garrison, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Were you with him every night? No, we weren't with him all the time. Like I said, various times, either day or night, either I'd be with him, or the three of us would be together, or we wouldn't be with him. Did you ever, during that period, ever recall him with a young American who was about Seymour's size? Seymour was apparently working in Florida. Seymour is, as you know, thin, not very tall. Hall, was he ever with another American? No, I don't remember meeting anybody aside from Wally Yates. You remember Wally Yates? Yeah, I remember him vaguely. Let's pull the data on Wally Yates, please. Wally Yates is thin, but isn't he rather tall? Yeah, he's taller. I think he's taller than Bill. Bill's around 5'6" or 5'7". He's very short. And Yates must be 5'10" or 5'11". He's, I think, taller. How many times did you all see Yates? One time. Was there any particular function or reason for that visit? No, he said it was a friend of his and he wanted to see him. That's about it. How long did you stay in Dallas with Hall? I guess it would be about 10 days, give or take. Where were you staying? I don't remember the name of the motel. It was a motel. Yeah, I'd like to find out. I made a collect call. Do you remember roughly where it was? Yeah, it was it was within a mile or so. There was a big memorial park, because I remember one time we cut through it. Some big, huge park. And then it was right off the freeway. Ran a couple of branches there over the bridge, and anyway, it was off to the right. There was a little drive-in stand there. You don't remember whether it was north or south or what? No, I haven't the slightest idea. Do you have occasion to stop in New Orleans at all? No. Just the one time I drove through here was in June, roughly 4th, right around there, 63. Did you stay overnight? No, drove straight through. Okay, let me pause right here. This is bullshit. And we know why. Why is this bullshit? Think to yourself, why is this statement of Lawrence Howard never having been to New Orleans bullshit? Why is that bullshit? Well, it's bullshit because Lawrence Howard was obviously the heavyset Latino seen there with the quote-unquote Lee Harvey Oswald, who was seen there drinking a lemonade, but later was seen so drunk that he was hanging off of Lawrence Howard and he had a clip-on bow tie. Okay? Why the fuck these guys were there, I don't know. But once again, it's another sighting of Oswald with a large husky Latino, right? There's only one pair that's ever going to be. And that's William Seymour and Lawrence Howard. You cannot start going off the deep end and start to think that there are duplicates of duplicates. Okay, it's not now, not ever. All right, they're not smart enough for the double triple whammy. Okay, so if you have William Seymour and Lawrence Howard impersonating Oswald or being mistaken for Oswald, depending on the circumstance. Okay, there's not going to be another pair of Oswald and a husky Latino who's not William Seymour and Lawrence Howard. This is just basic common sense, right? So now the one person who I believe sometimes could be mistaken in situations where it might appear to be Lawrence Howard with some varying descriptors is often Louis Rebel. Louis Rebel is another one of these guys connected to the Cuban Revolutionary Front bullshit, nonsense, CIA money laundering shit. But he was in the mix a little bit, but he doesn't really have anything to do with the assassination. I can't place him in fucking Dallas. And seems to be just a peripheral character. But nonetheless, what the fuck are we talking about? Let me see. All right, so yeah, so when he says he wasn't in New Orleans, he's lying. That's bullshit. He was in New Orleans. Plus, he was known to have stopped by David Ferry's office, or G. Ray Gill's office, to see David Ferry, unless there is another husky Latino with a pockmarked face. Do you really think that there's another husky Latino with a pockmarked face? Really? Another one that I've never discovered, come across, or found any evidence to show that they exist? Is that possible? No. Of course it's not fucking possible. So every single goddamn time you see a reference to a husky Latino with a pockmarked face, or a guy who has moles on his face, or who was accompanying Lee Harvey Oswald, it's 100% of the time Lawrence Howard. All right, did you have occasion to stop in New Orleans at all? No, just the one time I drove through here was in June, roughly 4th, right around there, 63. Did you stay overnight? No, drove straight through. Do you know if Hall ever came here? I don't recall him saying so. How about Patrick? Yeah, Patrick was here at various times. Patrick makes no secret about the fact that he's been here with Howard Davis, for example, going over to the training area north of the lake. I heard something about that. You ever hear about that training area? I think there was an article written. I think it was in the Dallas newspaper. I think I heard somebody said something about it, about him, and that he had a training camp here somewhere, but I don't know about the camp. Okay, so let me pause right here. So, if you recall, we discussed this a couple weeks ago. Jerry Hemming straight up says that there never was a camp there, that they talked about having a camp there, but that he never had a camp there. The Interpen guys never relocated to north of Lake Pontchartrain. Okay? So that draws into question the entire idea that the feds raided the camp. All right? Then, by chance, I did happen to read another reference that it was another person who was running a camp there. I mean, this obviously was on the show, so if somebody recalls what I said. But I'm remembering a reference to another person that could have ran camps north of Lake Pontchartrain at their home. It was like a home residence. But nonetheless, we have the stories from Oliver Stone that the FBI raided those camps and took all the weapons, right? But the question is, do we have any fucking evidence for that? Is there any real evidence that there were ever actual functioning camps north of Lake Pontchartrain run by Hemming or any one of these guys, or Howard Davis or Ronald Augustinovich or any of these fucking guys? I don't know. I don't think so. If I'm asking the question, obviously there isn't enough evidence to convince me. So I'm going to make it a point to find out. All right. So we showed you the picture of the two men walking, and one of them you pointed to did resemble Bradley. Did we ask you whether or not the smaller person looked familiar or not? The one on his in back of him? Yes. Yeah. Does he look familiar? No. I mean, you asked me. No, he doesn't look familiar. How about the other picture, the man with the smirk going into the car? Did you stop and look at that? The guy has on a kind of black raincoat. And his answer's completely redacted. Let me ask you one more question about the motel. You say it was just off the freeway. Is that the same freeway you took to go out of Dallas toward Miami? I don't remember. If I was up there, I think I could find it. I think I could find it, but I don't remember. Coming in from Dallas, coming in from Los Angeles, did you, I think if I remember, I would say it was on the opposite. Going to past Dallas? Yes. Past the downtown? Yes. This could be checked. I mean, if you could, because I made a collect. I don't know if it's worth it, the trouble, but I did make a collect call from there to my wife. I don't know, I'm pretty sure they would still have it on record, and I had the receipt. I don't know up until, I don't know how long ago. Did you register in your own name? I think so. Do you usually register under your own name? Well, Hall took care of it because he was the one that had the money. He was handling everything. This guy looks familiar, but I think I was shown a picture of him, though. Is that the one of the pictures you gave me? Yeah. He said he looked familiar, but you couldn't place him. He said you said he looked familiar, but you couldn't place him. Yeah, he still looks familiar, though. When you first gave me the picture and showed it to me, he looked familiar, and he still looks familiar to me, but that's all. Oswald's Mexico visit seems to have occurred in late, about end of September of 63, and on October 3rd, he's registered at the YMCA in Dallas. That was about the time you all arrived. Do you know any other individuals who were in Mexico at the same time as Oswald's trip? No, I don't think so. Do you know of any individuals who might have been? No, aside from maybe Patrick. I mean, I don't know about that. Let's put it this way. In other words, you arrived in Dallas on October 3rd. Before that, because you were there on October 3rd. In Dallas? Yeah. Yeah, I was there. Okay. While you were there, especially around the 3rd, do you recall anybody else arriving in Dallas who might have been in Mexico? God, this is a great question. Do you see what he's doing here? Here's the thing. When cops ask you questions, or a district attorney asks you questions, not always, but sometimes, they'll understand they'll know what they're getting at, and the subject won't. Like, they'll understand the relevance of their questions, and they'll be digging at something that the person won't necessarily know they're digging at, and their answer will be crucial. Like, in this case, Garrison knows way more than he's letting on. He says, while you were there, especially around the 3rd, do you recall anybody else arriving in Dallas who might have been in Mexico? Well, yeah, clearly. Okay. The person he's referring to is Carrie Thornley, because it was Carrie Thornley in Mexico City, right? But Carrie Thornley, what does Carrie Thornley do? It's the end of September. Carrie Thornley, do I have any reason to believe Carrie Thornley goes back to New Orleans? No. So Carrie Thornley did go to Mexico City, and then he is then seen in Alice, Texas, and he stops at the radio station, right? And he stopped at the diner. And he's seen with Marina Oswald and her kid. And then he goes back to fucking Dallas. So yes. See, this tells me more about the mind of Garrison than anything else. And why other people don't pick up on this, I don't understand. So he obviously knows Carrie Thornley was the one who went to Mexico City at this point. Okay. He's not stupid. For some reason, we have we're missing a necessary book from Garrison that he never wrote on what really happened in his mind. But he knew Carrie Thornley was in Mexico City. He knew Carrie Thornley went to Dallas. And so he's digging to see if he can get Lawrence Howard to trip up and say anything indicating he knew the person who was in Mexico City. And he knew Carrie Thornley from New Orleans, and he had to have known him in Dallas as well. He says, no. Did Patrick show up while you were there in Dallas? Yeah. No. I mean, did anybody else appear that you recall? No one that I know of. When did you decide to come to Dallas from California? I guess a couple weeks before that. Whose idea was it? Hall's. He was kind of the idea man. Well, I mean, it seems like I'm not like I told you when I got back, I called him because he wanted to see me. He told me what he had and what he wanted to do. And I said, okay, I'll go with you. So we went up, we left the LA area. I went to Dallas. I came through, and this is redacted, not through redacted, through El Paso, and we stopped there and went across the border and had something to eat and a few drinks, and we crossed back and came straight in. When did he go and see Logue? What day was it? Before the 3rd? No, because I think if I remember correctly, I don't remember. I don't remember what time we got in, but it wasn't right away. It was within a couple of days of us getting there to Dallas. And you left when? What was the date you left? Dallas? Yeah. I would say roughly October 10th, right in there, give or take a few days. Was there any special reason why you all stayed in Dallas so long after he saw Logue? I mean, what else was he doing? I don't know. He, like I said, he handled, it was his show. In other words, he had gotten the goodies, the money and the goodies, and he was taking care of the finances, so it was his show. And from the first time we went to see Logue, they kept me out of the car. I mean, they kept me in the car, rather. And I gathered from there that he didn't want me to meet his contacts. So he was running the show. This is it. I mean, I'm not passing the buck, you know. These are the facts. Do you know if he ever went to the YMCA during that period? No, he was looking for a couple of Cubans. I can't think of their names. One of them keeps popping up in my mind. I can't think of it right now. I just can't think of his name right now. It will pop up in a while. He wanted to make contact with them in some connection. You seem to think that they were in Dallas at the time. Yeah. Where did he seem to feel they were staying? I seen the American women. I seen Yates. I seen Morris. I seen Logue at his building and at his home. I seen redacted newspaper. I know, I don't know. Did you see any gun dealers in Dallas? No, because this I would have known because I have a love for firearms. Did you ever find out who this guy was concerning the boat? No, I assumed it was Logue, or the Logue or something like that. No, I don't know who he's making reference to. That's about all I can recall, though. And then something's redacted. You saw Hall? In Miami, I guess November 63. I guess he's asking him when was the last time you saw Hall. November 63. What year? 63. And then the next question is fully redacted. And the answer to that redacted question is, no, let's see, the week before hunting season closed up, what year? This year. This would have been in November, about November 1st, last year. I went hunting up by Kernville. I went in through the other side, though, and I coming back across the mountains, and I did ask to see, as long as I was in that area. I thought I'd stop in and see him, because I wanted to ask him what the hell, why he had, I was pretty bitter about it. I wondered what the hell he brought me into this thing for, but I couldn't find him. I mean, I didn't really look for him. I had heard he was running a motel, and on the way down from, I don't know if you're familiar with it, down from Redacted, down through Kernville, I stopped at a few places. Yeah, so just a reminder to everybody, after the assassination in early of 1964, like January or February, Hall came into some money, and he opened a hotel. He bought a hotel, right? So, wonder where he got that fucking money from. So you got a guy who's driving around the country trying to hit up Lester Logue and a bunch of other of these guys for $100, $200, $300 just to continue the show. That he goes and gives these speeches and hands the hat around to get money just so he can continue to move around. And then he comes up with enough money all of a sudden within a couple months to open a motel. You wanted to find out why he made you famous? Yeah, well, famous, my God, this kind of fame I could do without. The next question's redacted. My goodness, though, all kidding aside, boy, I mean, I will make up for it. Where were you working in the summer of 64? Summer of 64, oh, ITE. What's that? IT Circuit Breaker. Where's that? LA. What about the fall of 64? Same place. I was there about 3.5 years. Do you know a firm called Universal Interlock? Universal Interlock? I don't think so. It deals in oil well services. Redacted equipment for seismographic servicing. I don't think so, unless this is where Logue comes in, because I read in the book it says that Logue is a lawyer. Well, I don't know if this is true or not, but he told me, when we went to see him, that he was, I think, a geologist. He used to go out for oil firms and this type of thing. And then you say he's, what did you say? A SENA. What was the word a geological, a seismolog, seismographic. Oh, I don't know. Did you all stop in Fort Worth at all? No. How about this fella, Roy Hargraves? Before I got, after you subpoenaed me, I was still in Mexico. And anyway, he called before I got back. He called my wife and that he wanted to talk to me. He was in the hospital at the time in Redacted, where I lived. I hadn't seen him in since '63, so I know this sounds like I don't know how this is going to sound, but I found out just right after all this broke that Jerry and Roy were living within, I'd say, about a mile from there. And for what it's worth, I wasn't aware of it until this broke out. Anyway, he said my wife said that he wanted to contact me. So shortly after I got back, I contacted him. He told me, he said that you had been more or less harassing him and Dick Lotchley up in Baton Rouge, that you'd been asking questions about No Name and all the other fellows about me and Hall. In Baton Rouge? Yeah, up there someplace. Now, whether this is true or not, I don't think we've mentioned Hargrave's name since he came by here with Patrick. It's odd that he should say that. Pardon? I don't think we've mentioned Hargrave's name since he came by with Patrick last spring. I don't think we've mentioned his name since. I don't know. And he said we were harassing him. Well, that was the impression. Maybe I shouldn't say. Did you find it left the impression in your mind that you shouldn't come or something like that? What did he seem to accomplish? I seen him in the hospital. Why did he want to see you? Well, he just wanted to, I guess, the impression I got was to let me know about, you had been inquiring about me, the tie-in with No Name or something like this. This is the impression I got. I mean, I don't want to. I don't know how to say it. I just don't want to. You haven't said anything incriminating about him. Well, but it sounds like I'm just pulling names at random and just, how about, didn't we show you a picture of Gordon Novell? No, you haven't, but I've seen, have you ever seen him before? No. Patrick said that he remembers seeing him at No Name Key and redacted No Name Key. So he must be saying Patrick said that he remembers seeing him at No Name Key, and he also saw so-and-so at No Name Key is probably what it says there. That's how it came up. He brought it up, and Novell was the one that was supposed to be there. I wonder where Hargraves got the idea that we were inquiring. He told us that he was at No Name Key with Patrick when he was there. What he told you was not correct. Well, maybe I misunderstood him. I don't know. I don't think I did, but maybe I did. Do you suppose it was possible that he was trying to discourage you from being cooperative? No, because later on he told me, I seen him again. I think I seen him about 3 or 4 times since. Jerry, I've seen him about 3 times. He, in so many words, he said that after the judge said I didn't want to have to come, he said, well, maybe if you want, I can look into it and maybe I can contact him and see if he still wants to see you. At that time, it seems like he wanted to be helpful. I mean, as far as Patrick? No, Hargraves. He wanted to be helpful. Hargraves. What was Patrick's attitude? Patrick doesn't commit himself. I mean, I asked, but he doesn't commit himself. I mean, Patrick's sort of conducting an investigation of his own. Do you know anything about that? Yes, I mean, just from what Roy told me, from what Carrie has told me. That's why Hang on a second. This has to be a goddamn typo. Okay, this has to be Jerry, not Carrie, okay? So, yes, I mean just from what Roy told me, from what Jerry has told me. That's why I feel like I told Mr. Garrison I'm in no way implying or insinuating, but a lot of these Cuban names, I mean, I believe in giving credit where credit is due, and Jerry is sharp. He's intelligent. I'm in no way implying, of course, but I mean, a lot of these people, he might be able to help you with. Let me ask you this, because you know so many people like Jerry Patrick. That's Jerry Hemming, of course. What is your opinion of these and other people you might have known in the Cuban days about the assassination? They must have expressed opinions. No, I haven't had too much contact with them, aside from personal friends and some who come from out there, after this happened, I was working out there at the time before it happened. I was working over there, and I never got back to Miami area. Were you in contact with Hall? Were you in communication with Hall around that time? Well, yeah, last time that we broke up was when we had our falling out, was shortly after he lost the trailer and supplies. Not the trailer, but some supplies. The next question is redacted. No, but that was roughly around November, real early in November, either the later part of October or... Tell me, what was your reaction you had about the assassination? I mean, did you think of Hall at all? Did his name... No, I didn't make a connection there because, work was disrupted, and I I don't know how to say it, but I remember I said, the conservatives are going to catch it. I don't know why. I mean, but this was my first reaction. Why did you think conservatives? I don't know. We're interested in your reaction because you knew so many of these people, knew of their activity. That's all. Your reactions interest us because there's nothing incriminating about it. But what was your feeling about it at the time? About what probability? About what probably? I'm sure that, my feeling, oh boy, all these loudmouths that at one time or another made statements about either impeaching him or, I never heard anybody say, I don't, to tell you the truth. I mean, I went to a lot of meetings why we should get rid of him, but I think this is normal though. This isn't, I don't think this is, that SOB and this and that. I mean, I think this is, what did you think when the United States announced Lee Oswald, the lonely communist? Well, I had to tell you the truth. I was kind of relieved that it was, I didn't doubt it for a minute, at the time. The curious thing is that even while they were saying that, and even while Oswald was being held in jail, the FBI in California was investigating Lauren Hall. Did you know that? Within 24 hours. No. That's true. Within 24 hours. You've been asking me. Can I ask you now? Go ahead. I don't. Do you feel that he could have been involved or that we, or the three of us? Okay, hang on a second. This is Lawrence Howard asking Garrison this, okay? So what is he asking? He says, you've been asking me. Can I ask you now? Garrison says, go ahead. Lawrence Howard then says, I don't. Do you feel that he could have been involved or that we are the three of us? Okay. Lawrence Howard is straight up asking Garrison if he feels that the three of them could be involved. And what three are they talking about? What three is Lawrence Howard talking about? What three could it possibly be? And why would he associate only three of them when he's obviously talking about a dozen people so far? Right? Do you see the slip in this? He thinks he's turning the tables to ask a question, but he's not, okay? See, this is great, and this is something you're not going to catch unless you've ever had law enforcement experience, right? You're not going to understand what's going on in this guy's mind. So automatically, he associated the three of them together. The three being Lawrence Howard, Lauren Hall, and William Seymour, right? He did that. Garrison didn't do that for him. He did that in his own mind when he was trying to distance himself from Hall the whole time, right? God, this is great. This is one of those things that when you really come to understand interrogation and how interrogation works and things like Reed Institute and Kinesic interview and all this stuff, you really come to understand that it's art. It really is a fucking art form. That's one thing I do miss about police work. Interrogation was fun. Especially when you know you're smarter than the dumb fuck you're talking to. But yeah, so here we have Lawrence Howard associating himself with Lauren Hall and William Seymour and asking Garrison if he felt that he could have been, if the three of them could have been involved. Well, of course he's asking because he feels guilty and he needs to gauge Garrison's response, right? They were all in the book depository that day, so. All right, so Garrison then says, I'll answer this way. I feel that he knows some of the key people. I don't necessarily feel that he himself is involved, but he knows some key people. My feeling in that regard really began when we found out the FBI was digging into him within 24 hours. That part has never come to the surface. The results of that investigation, but as to whether we feel that he was involved in an active way, no, we don't feel that. In other words, we haven't charged him with anything. I have no considerable potential, redacted, call him as a witness. We feel like he could tell us a great deal about Sylvia Odio's visit. Remember, he said he was there. All right. Let me pause again. Garrison is trying to maintain this kind of relationship that he's building, this rapport that he's building with Howard. And he's trying to put him at ease by saying that no, he doesn't think that Lauren Hall was involved, but that he knows key people, okay? And that it was brought to his attention when he realized the FBI had investigated him within 24 hours, okay? Well, why did the FBI investigate Lauren Hall within 24 hours? Well, they weren't investigating Hall. They were investigating a rifle. The 30-06 rifle, the Johnson rifle, that the origins of its The origins of how it was brought to the attention of the FBI is still up in the air. So the current answers that we have, and I said this on Lori and Fenton's show, I'll give you two answers. One is that the current story is that the lawn crew found it, which is somewhat feasible. The next day, allegedly. But I don't know if I buy that because the FBI had way too much information within 24 hours of the assassination for them to only have found that rifle that morning. So if they found the morning that day, maybe let's say at the earliest 7 o'clock in the morning, by fucking 2 in the afternoon, they already had all the information tracing the rifle back to Richard Hathcock in Los Angeles, right? So the idea that the FBI was turned on to this rifle within 24 hours of the assassination tells me they only found out about it one place. It was located in fucking Dealey Plaza. And they tried to covertly investigate that while the official story played out, right? And here we have Garrison discussing this. See, I've had that document for a while. And it's in my book. I wrote about it and all that stuff. But we haven't had much surrounding information on how that came to be, right? Here we have a little bit of a peek into insight of how, at least how Garrison felt about that. He felt it was fucking significant. So then Lawrence Howard's answer is, yeah, I remember that. They claimed, I told him, it was, I told him, number one, I said, I know he's lying because, and I pointed out to him that Seymour and I were never in Dallas together. So it couldn't have been the three of us. I said, if any three persons, if I said Hall and two other persons visited her, it had to have been Hall, Warito, and myself, because it couldn't have been me and Seymour. Now, this number one, and I pointed that out right away. Number two, I didn't recall, and I didn't remember visiting any Miss Odio. Okay, so let me just point something out again here, too. So, if you did not do something. Let's just say there's an accusation that somebody went to a store and stole something. And you sure as fuck didn't go to that store. And I'm the cops and I show up and I say, were you at that store? Did you steal something? Can you give me, were you with somebody who might have stole something? Would you go into some big diatribe about, I don't think I was at the store. If I was, it was with this person, not that person, but it couldn't have been this person because, no, you'd be like, motherfucker, I wasn't there. But is that what Lawrence Howard is doing? No, it's not what Lawrence Howard's doing. That's what he should be doing. He should be saying, look, motherfucker, I wasn't there. I don't know what you're talking about. Guilty people try to come up with these stories. Innocent people get angry and say, fuck off. Garrison says, I believe you. He said he was there and provided details, and so I have to believe that he was there. Yeah, I've gathered that now from the books, and I've seen FBI reports, and he says it was redacted, and he gives a description. Oh, yeah, if Lauren Hall were to talk to us and not lie, I think he could give us some very valuable information about some real interesting people. He seems to have been there in November, too, but again, that doesn't, does that make him a defendant? No. Does it mean we plan to charge him? No. That should answer your question. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been to downtown Lincoln Mercury? Do you remember ever going to that auto place while you were in Dallas? Did Hall ever go there? See, now he's asking about the time that Oswald allegedly went to downtown Lincoln Mercury, went on a test drive, 85 miles an hour, right? That's in my book, too. He goes, I don't remember. I don't think so. Okay, so if you had never been to a car dealership, and I asked you if you'd been to a car dealership, are you going to say, I don't remember, I don't think so? No, you're going to be like, bitch, I never been to a car dealership. You're not going to say, I don't fucking remember, I don't think so. So what does that tell me? It tells me that Lawrence Howard is definitely familiar with this car dealership. Have you ever heard of a fellow named Warren Reynolds in Oak Cliff? Warren Reynolds? Yeah, do you know where Oak Cliff is? It's part of Dallas. No, I don't think so. Did he know, you know why Hall's been in the hospital? He's been pretty sick. All right, let me pause right here. So, Warren Reynolds is one of the alleged witnesses at the Tippit shooting. But, and I only touched on this really briefly, allegedly when you dig into Warren Reynolds, I guess he's connected to some of our people. And since all these events were staged events, it shouldn't be surprising. But Warren Reynolds probably should have a deep dive done into him and his connections that have been dug up that lead him back to our conspirators. You know why Hall's been in the hospital? He's been pretty sick. This is what I've heard. Did he ever mention Gordon McClendon's name? I don't recall. Did you ever hear of anyone called Nico Crespi? That's the name I was trying to think of, Crespi. Remember, I told you I think we seen or tried to see or trying to locate while we were in Dallas. That's the name I was trying to think of. That's the name. Let's pull the information on Nico Crespi, Nico Crespi. Thanks. Hall was trying to locate him. Yeah, what does he look like? I don't know. I don't remember. Oh, you don't know or you don't remember? Give me a fucking break, Lawrence Howard. He's Cuban, and he's supposed to be active leader in some organization. I'm not sure which, but that's the name, Crespi. I knew it was right. It was right at the tip of my tongue somewhere. That's the name, Crespi. And there was another one in addition to Crespi he was looking for. Yeah, I can't think of it. I think they were from, I'm not sure, but I think I recall them being either from Alpha 66 or Commanduella. I mean, this is, I won't swear to it because I'm not sure. Commanduella is Commanduella. I'm assuming it's a mercenary organization. I haven't heard of that one. What was the role of Alpha 66 at the time in 63? They were Alpha 66. It was a pretty effective organization. They were making runs, and they were making... what about DRE? What was that? I'm not familiar with DRE. I'm not that familiar with it. Okay, so Alpha 66, along with Operation 40, are organizations that were like assassin organizations, that is to the best of my knowledge. Alpha 66 might have been a little bigger and broader and might have done some other stuff. Operation 40 was definitely just a bunch of assassins. Which of these organizations did Lauren have contacts with? Well, honestly, to the best of my knowledge, he really had no solid endorsements or contacts. He knew a few names and a few people, but he didn't really have any solid contacts. I mean, he didn't. Just kind of give you the impression he was just trying to get things started. Yeah, he knew names, and he claims were from the days when he was with Castro, but my personal opinion is that he didn't have very many contacts, and once he did, were very leery about him. Because after the thing fell through, the boat was taken, you see. All the arms weren't taken. This was a misconception. Everybody seems to think all the arms were taken. They weren't. There were still certain goodies left. And then I tried on my own to various contacts I had to see if we could still get a boat. A lot of them told me you're working with Hall, and a lot of them, as soon as they found out I was working with him, they were close friends of mine who had confidence in me, but as soon as they found out, they dropped me. Why, was he too much of a loudmouth? Well, he was definitely a loudmouth. I don't know if this had anything, but he was definitely a loudmouth. But why did they want to steer away from you? I don't know. There was a rumor that came down when we were in that area. Now, this is just hearsay now. Some Cuban, I don't know his name, came down and said that we were under real tight surveillance because supposedly Bobby Kennedy put out a directive to keep us in the area, not to let us go out. But this, I don't know if this is true or not. I mean, I definitely heard this. I don't know if it is true or not. I can't, there's no way in the world I can, swear to it or anything like that. And surveillance was pretty tight on us because of Hall's connections. Well, I don't know. I think if it had been handled right, we could have just made it. But he just, in my opinion, was just too incompetent or pretending to be incompetent. Do you know what Hall's connection with the Minutemen was? No, I don't know if he had any. I mean, I don't know. What was Hall's connections with Erquiaga? He claims he knew Erquiaga from when he was with Castro, and I guess just buying the firearms. He did deal with him? Yeah, we got some of the firearms, most of them from him. We picked them up. How about, did Hall ever have any connection with the Long Beach American Legion post? No, I mean, I don't know. I say no, but what I mean is I don't know. In the Ramparts, I read about the, how did you happen at first to meet Dr. Morris? I attended a meeting. This is at a gym, I think, a high school auditorium in San Marino. He was giving a speech there. I went with some people. Did you go back to Dallas to see him? Yeah, but because Hall was there. Well, I already met him. I just met him briefly. When did you see him out there? In Dallas? In San Marino. It had to have been roughly May or April of 63. Who did you go with? I'd rather not say. I mean, these were real people that in no way, I mean, conservative? Right. Just conservative people that said, why don't you attend a meeting at, how many were there? How many people were there? Oh, there was an auditorium. Yeah, it was a high school auditorium. There were quite a few. Did any Cubans speak on the same program? No, if there were Cubans there, I don't know. All I did was just attend the meeting, and I was introduced to him, and that's all. Did you know anybody in San Marino? Well, the JB headquarters was there. Did you personally know anyone? And this is in parentheses. Bill, what was the name of that organization that Henry Wade goofed up? Fair Play for Cuba. Yeah, but it was Free Cuba, the Free Cuba Committee. Have you ever heard when Hall was redacted, when he was arrested with Seymour? For some reason, they noted that Seymour and Hall were connected with the Free Cuba Committee. What is the reason for that? I don't, this Free Cuba Committee, the Committee to Free Cuba. Well, who's the leader? There's a lot of variations. Those are two different ones. And then there's a Freedom for Cuba party. I don't know if they're different or the same. I've got, maybe I could give you some names later. I don't know. The American Committee to Free Cuba, but that's in California. I don't know. The head of that organization was William R. Lyon, Lyon. William Lyon? Right. That's probably the formal name. I don't know if this is, in parentheses, Garrison, and says, is this your recollection, Bill? When Hall was arrested with Seymour, they gave the information that they were members of the Free Cuba Committee? Boxley says yes. Who else belonged to that? Well, I don't know. This is, there's nothing wrong with the group. They're just trying to see the picture. Howard says, well, all right. The first time I came in contact with this committee was in about April or the latter part of May, right around there of 63. I think it was through Bob Brown and Steve Wilson. I think this is a legitimate, respectable organization. I think that Dr. Teresa was on the board or something. He's pretty active in anti-Castro affairs in the Los Angeles area. But this in no way has any kind of military branch to it. Was this the group that Dr. Morris spoke for? I don't know. I know that Steve Wilson, they gave me Steve some money to help get him back to Miami area. If this is the same group Hall and Seymour were making reference to, I don't know. Let me tell you a story with some information we got about the assassination. There were apparently several plots to assassinate the president. Probably, maybe none of them were actually responsible for doing it, and these groups of people had actually been approached by sponsors to do the job, and they probably never did it. And recently, this year, the past 2 years, all this controversy has come up about who did it, and some of these people have gone back to people who gave them money and said, look, we did it. Why don't you give us a whole lot more money and we'll keep quiet about it? And as a result, some of these people are being bumped off. What? Do you understand that? Yeah. Have you ever heard any... No, you mean ones who were trying to blackmail these people? They were trying to blackmail the original sponsors by claiming, maybe falsely, that they did it. Just taking credit for it, in other words, and saying, we won't say any more about it. If you give us some money and then in turn have been murdered, right. This is so many ways in which we got that seems like a very interesting story. No, I never heard anything like that. That's Howard saying that. Something like that, no. Do you think it's true that there have been several plots? I don't know. Like I told you, I attended various meetings, but they weren't to discuss people come up with this sort of gun should be taken out of office, liberalism, socialism, trend and all this type of thing, and we should do something about it, but I think this is normal. I think a person's entitled to give his opinion, especially if you're mad. Just like when I heard I cussed you out, goddamn, he's trying to shack me, when you say I was in Dallas up until the assassination and this and that my God, I was shocked at the, and I cussed you out, but I believe this is my privilege. I'm entitled to this, Do you know any contacts Lauren Hall had elsewhere in Florida? in addition to Miami, St. Petersburg, or other towns? No, there were no stops in Florida. Tom Duncan, he is or was a freelance reporter. Dr. Crockett, but these are people. Who's Dr. Crockett? He's from Miami. He's a dentist, but all he did, there's no tie-in. What I feel could possibly be a tie-in. What about St. Petersburg? I don't know. Did you ever hear of Carlos Quiroga? Just from, I've either been asked his name or what about Richard Nagel? I don't think so. What about Dennis Harper? Yes. What do you know about him? For one, he's a homosexual. I have a book here that Bob Brown had translated. He suggested that I bring it. It's got pictures of Jerry. I haven't seen it. Brown wrote it, didn't he? Well, yeah, but Harper. Is it Harper or Hopper? Well, it's here right there. Harper, I guess it is. Have you ever seen this guy? And he shows him a picture of Jack Lawrence. He looks a little familiar. I wouldn't swear to it, though. He was in Florida. Can you associate him at any time as part of the group? He looks familiar. In other words, he's one of the guys he was for Castro, and then later finds out Castro, he's against him. He's living in California. He looks familiar, that is. I don't know. Okay, so Jack Lawrence is a fucking skinny little white guy who... Now we can say with the association to Lawrence Howard through No Name Key, right? And then Jack Lawrence ends up in Los Angeles working with the fucking mob out there. And then allegedly he's working in Dallas at the time of the assassination, and the day of the assassination shows up at like a car dealership, and he's like covered in like mud and shit, right? And then he ends up getting arrested, but that whole thing ends up getting squashed. He leaves a car in the parking lot behind the grassy knoll, and somebody had to come and pick it up and drive it back to the dealership. To me, it's a side story. I don't understand the relevance of Jack Lawrence. I obviously LA Mob was involved. They were definitely in Dallas. I just can't seem to connect Jack Lawrence to any of the ongoing stuff. He was living in Dallas at the time, had a job, but then he dipped back to Los Angeles. I mean, it doesn't look good. So many people try to say that he was the guy in the plaid shirt up on the knoll. It's possible. I mean, I don't fucking know. The speculation is that he escaped through the sewer. I think the story's kind of ridiculous. I don't know. Maybe you guys want to look into it. At the moment, it's just another one of those superfluous stories. He was in Florida. Can you associate him at any time as part of the group? He looks familiar. In other words, he's one of the guys he was for Castro, but then later finds out Castro, he's against him, and he's living in California. He looks familiar. That I don't know. His name is Jack Lawrence. Pardon? Jack Lawrence. He has a middle name of Carroll. You might know him as Jack Carroll. I don't think so. He looks familiar, but I don't remember. I mean, there's just something about him that looks familiar. What's the story on Dennis Harper? Oh, well, nothing really, except him and Edward Collins. I thought it was Edwin Collins, or him and Ed Collins. I don't know if he's popped up anywhere. Yes, Collins. Collins is the one that drowned, isn't he? Yeah, they used to bunk together. I don't mean that Collins was. But they used to. Didn't Collins drown in just a few feet of water? That's what I heard, yeah, under mysterious circumstances. And one that was real interested was Bob Brown, too. Is he working for you, by the way? Okay, so now we have confirmation that Edwin or Edward Collins, I believe it's Edwin Collins, not Edward. Edwin Collins fucking died, and he got murdered in a fucking few feet of water. Okay, drowned in a few feet of water. I'm telling you, go look at the pictures of Oswald handing out the flyers on fucking Canal Street or wherever the fuck it was in New Orleans. And one of the guys around him is Edwin Collins. Yep. Sure as shit. Maybe that's why he was fucking killed. That's what I heard. Yeah, under mysterious circumstances. And the one that was real interested was Bob Brown, too. Is he working for you, by the way? No. Because he is really. He claimed he had gone up to write a book about all these anti-Castro training phase and all this, but yet, he'd come right back to Collins, Hall, Seymour, Howard, and Odio. I mean, right back, and he'd throw in 5 or 10 minutes of, and come right back to the same thing again, trying to, and he's the one who brought, in other words, and this is Garrison asking, in other words, you feel that there was no real attempt at development, in other words, on his part, with his background of knowledge. Instead of taking and trying to find new knowledge, he just kept on. Right, till I got tired and told him, look, what do you want to know? I mean, you just keep referring back to the same thing. This would be typical of the way CIA handles things. Brown is, and Garrison says, you see, you're very useful to the CIA, for example. You're a very interesting person. He keeps coming back to you. This man has a terrific background. Yeah, I know he does, Howard said. It's curious, now that you mention it, why he doesn't develop it in any way. I don't know. I was kind of the impression he might have been working for you, you know. Garrison says, I never seen him. Well, this is just my personal opinion. Garrison said he called once. He did call once and wanted some information about somebody. Howard says he's been doing a lot of digging because he uses his other training and all his cover. And who were some of the other associates of Collins? All of us knew Collins. Collins was involved in a lot of plots in the Keys, you know, this type of thing. All the ones on the Key, I mean, the Marathon. We all knew Collins and the professor. That's Dennis Harper. That's all I can think of. What was the professor's role? He doesn't seem to like the soldier type. No, he wasn't. I don't know. He just was interested in the activities. Interested in what? What was he trying to accomplish? I don't know. Do you know Dr. Something redacted Del Hunco, Delhunco? Yes, I met him. He's the head of the American Committee to Free Cuba, wasn't he? I don't know if he's head of it. I know that he's active in it. I don't know if he's head of it, though. That's where Lion comes in, though, I think. What about Ricardo Davis? No, I know who you were making reference to because I've been asked that, but no. Manuel Gill? No, I think I've seen that list. I've been asked, but I don't know if I've seen it. I've been asked, though. Here in New Orleans, this is a new list. Oh, is that right? I haven't seen it then. Edward Butler? No. How about Emmanuel Torres? Have you heard about a man named Emmanuel Torres? No, I just heard it from somewhere. I mean, just recently, either through, I've been asked by Steve or I read it in Harold's book. What about Miguel Torres? Nope, I heard of it. Has Life magazine contacted you at all? Yes. Lately? Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, Dick Billings. Did Billings talk to you very long? About an hour. That's all? This was all over the phone. He didn't come out and see you? No, because he was leaving. He had to leave that same morning. That's what he said. He didn't ask too much about Hall. He just wanted, I guess, to see if there were any discrepancies in my statement from the time we left L.A. to the time I got back during that period. Do you know a reporter in Dallas named John King? No. Did you ever hear of someone called Juan Martin, or however you pronounce it? She's from one of the South American countries. No, I don't think so. Does the name Navarez mean anything to you? Navarez? Navarez. No, I don't think so. How about Pena, Orest Pena? No, I know what you mean, but he's asking about Orest Pena because Orest Pena was in the Havana bar at the time that Lawrence Howard and William Seymour were in there in the incident I mentioned earlier when Seymour got drunk, when all he drank was lemonade, which is weird. Let me see, where are we at? All right, so we are on page 45 of 86. This is a great interview, and I'm convinced this is the first time it's seen the light of day in fucking 50 years. But that's going to do it for today, guys. I hope that you are enjoying this as much as I am. I'm actually really loving this stuff. But that's going to do it for me today. Please tune in tomorrow. We'll continue. Once again, today is my birthday, so if you'd like to make a donation or if you'd like to buy a book, signed copy, buy a poster, any of that stuff, you can do that at buymeacoffee.com/JFKbook. And always, you can go to CoreyHughes.org, and you got all the links to my work there and stuff. And so I'm in the process of fleshing out the plan for my next writings, and I'm going to start writing again in mid-April. So I'm moving in a couple weeks at the end of the month, and once I get settled in, I will be jumping into either I'm torn between continuing to update A Warning from History or writing a second book, or just writing one big fucking book and having one big 1,000-page book available. So, but that's going to do it for me today, guys. Please tune in tomorrow, and we will take it from here. Thank you.